This morning I'm going to share a bit about the Hoanib River system, a linear oasis that runs for a couple of 100 kilometers from the inlands of the country towards the Atlantic Ocean. A very diverse river system it is, where you've got a variety of plant life that you've got. We've got more the dominant species, which are the acacias and the anna trees that you have, which provides food pots, food throughout the whole year. You've got the Phragmites australis reeds that you have, which are growing along the springs, the natural contact springs that are within the river as well. And then you have got the bit of the salsola species, then you have got the mopani trees, then you have got the salvadoras, which is commonly known as the mustard bush or the kori bush as well.
We've got this oryx bull on the left. He's busy feeding on the anna pods from the anna tree. Certain males tend to roam around alone, and he's just decided to claim a specific area in which he creates his territory, and he will be moving around there, where they will be doing regular territorial markings. Around in the Hoanib River, oryx is part of the preferred food source of the desert lions as well. They tend to prey on them. An anna tree is, its Latin name is Faterpia albida, very dominant within the ephemeral river systems. They do have got extensive root system whereby they tap into the aquifers or the water tables within the river systems, and they are providing a major food source within the river system, whereas the giraffes, they browse on them, the elephants, they browse on them, the oryx, they feed on their pods. The pods with the southwesterly winds typically starting in the afternoon, anytime as of 2 o'clock, between 2 and 4-ish, that's when the southwesterly wind starts to pick up. And they are a major force driving the pods to start falling on the ground and that's how the animals get to obtain it from the ground. And another source as well is the elephant bulls that will be trying to get up on their hindquarters, and then they would pull off some branches, or they would be shaking some of the anna trees so that the pods can fall. And then you would occasionally find that the bulls are the ones that tend to do that mostly.
In terms of the geological features that we find around in this area is one of the oldest geological features that you find within the country as well. It's known as the Epupa sequence, which is running from the Kunene River, southern Angola, Kunene River, all the way down up until around this parts, stretching through into some other parts of Namibia as we have as well. So mostly we've got mica schist and we've got gneiss, and then in some of the places that we've got a little bit of slate, which are interesting geological formations. So from the eastern side, it's more pronounced mountains that you have, high ridges that you have, that is forming the northern bank or the southern bank of the river as well. In certain parts of the river, you've got these conglomerates that are forming around, almost like where we are currently. And then moving on down the river, you've got more where the mountains are now disappearing. You've got more pronounced silt sediment banks that you have got. That is really where the river has managed to cut through that deep sediment in order for it to make its way towards the Atlantic Ocean. But there came a time whereby the accumulation of sand took place, and it blocked that river to continue towards the Atlantic Ocean. And that's how the floodplains was formed. Whereas you have got a unique ecosystem within an ecosystem that you have got there. Whenever the river is flowing down, water ends up within the floodplains, and it will last for 3 to 4 to 5 months, whereby you will see there's more movement of animals towards that side as well as there is. Now water is around there, there's a lot of good grass that is growing within there, from which the elephants are enjoying from that grass, the oryx, the springbok are enjoying from there as well, and that is what is attracting the lion activities within that area as well. Picking up tracks of lionesses and cubs as well. We are not really sure how many cubs there are, but so far we've got a good view of the 2 cubs that we can see that are lying out in the open in front of the lionesses. It's been a little bit challenging tracking them, as the southwesterly wind has done a lot of covering up of the tracks, and but we have used our knowledge and skills to maneuver the area, and we have came across the two females with the cubs. Seems to be in a good physical condition as well. Looks like they must have had something to eat a couple of days ago. The cubs are roughly 6 months old. This morning we started off from camp, backtracking in the direction of where we sighted the two lionesses with the cubs, and we walked our way around trying to pick up any tracks moving away into the western direction or to the eastern direction as well. But as we were making our way through the different channels which we thought they could have moved into, we came across them. And one of the interesting extra bit of the sighting for this morning was that we noticed that there was a male together with the females, and he was first a little skittish, a bit shy, but he came out in sight. Yesterday the approach was from about 150-meter distance that we approached them, and then we just kept it at that. But today, once we sight them, it was more like a 70-meter range that we had, and slowly we have walked our way in, and now we are roughly at 35 meters away from them, as they are very relaxed out in the open and just viewing us, monitoring our movement as we are monitoring their movement as well. You've got different ephemeral river systems that you have within the country, but Hoanib seems to be the one that really stands out, as it is having a high number of wildlife that frequents the river system as well. You've got a resident elephant herd that you have as well that is more based here. They will be, the only time that they will be moving out of the river majorly is whenever the river is in flood. Then they would use, the ancient routes that they used to move around to different parts where there is some water and then where is some feeding grounds as well. That's how they will be moving out of the river system and then coming back. Came across this desert adapted elephants, a breeding herd. So far we have this full view of 3 cows and 1 calf that we have. The 2 cows are busy feeding on the camel thorn tree. So we've tracked this elephant since the morning, so they were heading due west in the Hoanib river system. And by the look of the tracks, they were continuously walking to a specific area, so it was almost a 20-kilometer distance they covered in the river, but from where we sighted them last night to where we are today. And it's clear that the calf must have been a little fatigued, and he's busy suckling on the cow. They can still comfortably walk through or underneath the cow, and it's a clear indication that they are below 12 months in terms of the age. But this one is, I reckon, is somewhere around 13, 14 months that he is. Another interesting factor with the desert adapted elephants is that they are the same species as the savanna elephants that you find. It's just the behavioral adaptations that the desert adapted elephants have taken place for them to be able to survive in this harsh environment where there is no freestanding water every corner, where they have to cover long distances to the nearest water point and then back to the feeding grounds as well. Since it is not really a fenced off area, in terms of the predators as well, there is not really much of a a major competition, as well as lions have got to major home ranges that they have. There is a presence of cheetahs that is known in the area as well. They've got large home ranges that they have as well. Then you have got the leopard activities that are slowly starting to become evident, that there is also a population within the different pockets within the desert that you can find leopard activities as well. So yesterday we were quite fortunate whereby we were tracking for a track for the vehicle, but we came to a stop and then we decided that, okay, let's check where the road is going, because it was on the sand dunes and it was covered up and we couldn't really see where the old road was. And all of a sudden we stumbled on leopard tracks, and then as we were trying to identify if it is the leopard tracks, and then the next moment from a bush a leopard, which we suspect was a female, she plunged out of that and then she ran down the slope of the dune and then she dashed into the Salvadoras. So these are unique experiences that you get to see, because whenever you hear of a desert, you hear that, okay, it's barren, there's no animals, there's nothing, there's no life, but specifically this oasis cutting through this barren landscape brings a lot of life, attracts a lot of all forms of life from the adjacent valleys into the river system. So there's plenty of room for the lions, for them to thrive within this area, plenty of room for the leopards to thrive, plenty of room for the cheetahs to thrive as well, and plenty of room for the brown hyenas and the spotted hyenas and the Cape fox and the jackals and the African wildcats and the caracals that are all sharing this ecosystem as well. Interesting thing that I've noticed about the baboons as well, they are the same chacma baboons that you find throughout the southern Africa, but specifically within the desert parts, what you have is that they seem to be a lot more darker in the coat. They've got much more fur that they have got as well. So these are just unique behavioral adaptations that they have taken place. And if I can just emphasize on most of these animals that I have mentioned, the giraffes, the elephants, the baboons, the lions, the leopards, the cheetahs, the caracals and all, these are not different species from what we have in the other places as well. They have just gone through behavioral adaptation, having to deal with lack of water, lack of food. Every rainy season, there's no guarantee that there will be rain within these parts as well. Wherever the rain is, the river will flood. If there's enough rain in that area, the river will flood, and that flood will create a different biome as well within the space, so that they can basically thrive on that as well. They don't regularly drink water on a daily basis as well. Every third or fourth day is when they try to move to the water source so that they can have some water as well, because the distance between food and the distance between water is so great that they cannot move back and forth every day, and that is what makes them stand out above all the other species that you find, or of the same species that you find in other parts as well, because they are thriving in an environment that is pretty much difficult for them to make means to survive as well.